It's not part of the speech. I am a Gemini. I think I go well with it because one minute I'm really nice and sweet, the next minute I'm really mean. So people will tell me that I don't really know. That's in the spring, earlier this year, I decided that I was going to travel to all 50 states before I turned 40. So I was looking at the map and deciding where I hadn't been. I decided I'll go to South Dakota because that's where Mount Rushmore is, and I've always wanted to go there, and I think that's a great idea. So I was relaying this information to my friends in D.C. on the East Coast. We hadn't seen each other in a while. We decided we'd meet in the middle in Denver and do a road trip around several states in the area. So it was great. My speech is going to tell you about the adventures, the travel, and the lunacy that we encountered on our trip. The first day was great. We all met in Denver. We were ready to go. We got our little rental car. It was this cute little hatchback. Okay, we're 3 girls. Even though we were only gone for a long weekend, we had to strategically cram the suitcases in the back to make sure the hatchback closed. Then, as I mentioned, there were 3 of us. 2 in the front seat, 1 in the back with all the carry-on items. We had our snacks, we had our hairbrushes, we had our food, we had maps. I was the only one who brought maps. We had our maps, we had all the important stuff that we needed, all of our carry-on items, our purses. So we had this mountain of luggage in the back. We had a great time, but unfortunately, I didn't plan where we were going to stay. And I, being the only one who had information about actual locations, it meant that we were traveling up to 8 hours a day for most days. So the first day, we went from DIA up through Colorado, up through Wyoming, over to Nebraska, because I hadn't been there, and up through South Dakota. So that took a little bit longer than we had anticipated, about 10 hours so. Conversation in the car had stopped many hours before dinner. We finally got to dinner. We sat there, got a little rejuvenated with food. Lovely. Drove a little bit more before we finally found a place to stay. Got up the next morning and went to a wild horse sanctuary. I have no interest in wild horses, but one of my friends does. So we went and we saw the beautiful horses traipsing around the open field. It was lovely. Their hair was flowing. Their mane was flowing. And then we got in the car again and we drove another hour to Wind Cave National Park. We went to a national park which was lovely. I'm from Kentucky, home of the largest cave system in the world, which is Mammoth Cave. I've been many times, you should go too. But Wind Cave is just 3rd, so it's not nearly as impressive as Mammoth Cave. And I was the only one who had ever been to a cave before, so the other girls didn't know what to expect. So as we were going down, 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 down into the deep, dark cave, my friend says, I forgot to tell you I'm claustrophobic. So she has to take the hand of the guide and walk all the way down with the flashlight pointed everywhere. So it was a really long tour. But, you know, it ended up being fun. So after Wind Cave National Park, we drove again toward the Badlands. But on the way to the Badlands, we had to stop on the side of the road because we saw these beautiful antelope. And antelope had big, fluffy, pom-pom tails that are white, and they're really cute. They look like deer with big pom-pom tails. So we were looking around and taking pictures at all of the little antelope. Then we heard this weird chattering noise. And we looked around, there were all these little animals. We were near a prairie dog town. There were all these little prairie dogs, mounds and mounds and mounds. So that was fun too. We saw prairie dog town. Then we got in the car for another 2 hours and drove to Badlands National Park, which is beautiful. There are lovely striations in the mesas there that are yellow and pink. And the pink striations are caused by fossils that were part of an ocean environment, and all the calcium in that allows for the pink color. The yellow striations are created from a time from when there was a forest there, and all of the fossils from the forest have become yellow. So these beautiful bases of yellow and pink striations, and it's just lovely, painted by the hand of God. So we were driving along back to, actually we had to stop at Wall Drug. That was a lot of fun too, and we got a homemade milkshake. That's another story. So we drove back 2 hours from the Badlands to Mount Rushmore, which was beautiful. We made it just in time to see the fireworks show. It was lovely. They invited all the members to come up, and service members, and give their name and which service they served in. There were over 200 people. So it was really a stunning event. The next day, we actually went back to Mount Rushmore for the tour. Then we got in a car and drove back down to Rocky Mountain National Park, 8 hours, to see for our last day. The last day, we got up, we were making the most of it, got up early, went for a hike. I was tired, it's been a long day, we've been in the car for a really long time, been a long trip. So we were walking through a field, an empty field, there's nothing there. So we were like, okay, hopefully we'll see an animal. So we go through, and it was a forest, so we were walking through the forest, and all of a sudden we saw this elk. And his antlers were out to here. They were so big. It was the biggest elk I ever seen. Well, it was probably one of the only elk I'd ever seen. But anyway, it was really big. And everything was, we're getting closer and taking pictures. Then all of a sudden, this other boy elk comes around the corner. And the big boy elk got really mad and started charging the little boy elk. So my friends and I were still as trees waiting for the other elk to go away. So the little boy elk ran away, and the big boy elk was happy. So anyway, after that, we got back into our car and drove to the Denver International Airport. We got on our planes and went away. We had cameras full of pictures and our minds full of memories. Mr. Toastmaster.